Welcome to Splintered Spirits, a podcast hosted by me, Gary, and my nephew Johnny, where I'll be documenting Johnny as he tries to prove his theory about what ghosts are. You heard me right, ghosts. But that's not how this podcast started out. I've been in the entertainment business for years, kicking and clawing for those rare wins. Meanwhile, Johnny's out there making a killing on TikTok by talking to the dead. With the state of the entertainment industry the way it is, the idea behind this podcast started out as a traditional media creator, me, trying to get some insight into this social media world. I mean, his @SantaParanormal TikTok feed at the time of this recording has over 900,000 followers. His success has made me question all of my life choices, which I'm sure you don't want to hear about and are thinking, thanks pal, just put the fries in the bag. But over the course of this interview, what started as professional fascination and includes Johnny's haunted beginnings, turns into something more proactive and fun. And the idea of a podcast about the differences in media, which was probably boring and stupid to begin with, might become a fun investigative series into the unknown. And oh yeah, you're gonna hear ghosts too. So let's dive into the conversation and see where it takes us. Hi, my name's Gary. I'm here with my nephew Johnny. Say hello.
What's going on?
I wanted to talk to my nephew today because what he does for a living is completely unique. He is a TikTok phenom, and it's not for his dance moves, his makeup tips, or his healthy recipes. He's popular because he talks to the dead. I get that right, Johnny?
Yeah, pretty much. And I tried makeup, I tried dance moves. It just wasn't for me, so.
This is what clicked. You can find him at Santa Paranormal on TikTok, and we're going to get into it because I want to find out how he got here, how he knew he had this skill, and by the end of it, hopefully we're going to talk to some spirits. But first, Johnny, you got to tell me, man, when was your first paranormal experience?
So my first paranormal experience, where I was old enough to gauge what was actually happening, was actually right across the street from where I'm at right now. And that's an old firehouse that was built in the 1800s. I used to be a parliamentary officer for the company I was in. And I was doing some secretary work late at night because I'm a night owl naturally. And I saw somebody staring at me through the parlor doors.
Do you remember exactly what you saw?
I saw an older man, in between, 70, 75 years old approximately. And he was a little short, a little hunched, and just very curious as to what I was doing. My first initial investigation didn't yield much. But from talking to other people in the fire department, I ended up finding out that he is an entity that is always seen there, and he was a janitor there for decades.
You were just sitting at the computer in your firehouse.
Yep.
And you what? You felt something?
Where I was sitting, like, let's say this is the setup, and where this phone is right now is exactly where it is. I'm literally sitting at the computer, and you're at a computer, especially with the big screens back in the day. You lean over a little bit like this to see what's in front of you, and naturally, and that's when I spotted the entity staring at me from like at least 20 feet down, because the room was a big parlor room.
Did you shit yourself at all?
No. At first, I was like, who the hell's spying on me?
But he was in the room.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get up and walk over there? Were you like, what the hell? What the hell? What's happening?
Twice. I thought it was just somebody, either somebody was drinking. I thought somebody was messing with me at first. I had a lot of thoughts going through my mind. This is a firehouse that has over 300 volunteers at the time. So it could have been a number of anybody in there, but nobody was there.
Okay, so this is your first paranormal experience. You see this ghost, this guy.
As an adult.
As a kid, when Johnny was about 4 years old, I remember him screaming at someone none of us could see. I was young myself and thought he might have been, the nice way to say this, touched. Maybe he was always in tune with the dead? I don't know. But full disclosure, in that particular instance, it turned out he was just constipated.
So then after that, I did I started getting into it more and more. And I started investigating old speakeasies and places where people are like, hey, John, this is haunted. Come check it out. And I'd go check it out. What's wrong, baby? Cat's just meowing at the wall. Maybe she sees a spirit.
I'm a dog person and I'm allergic to cats, so generally I'm not a fan. I was fairly concerned this cat was going to ruin this interview. When was the first time you actually spoke to a spirit?
It was called Smalley's Inn in Carmel, New York. Then the story with that place was that there was he was like the sheriff, the coroner, the everything in this small town. And he had a daughter that had Down syndrome, back in the 1800s. Those things were handled very differently. He unfortunately kept her locked up in the basement for about 10, 11 years, and then decided to do a mercy killing, as he called it, and he drowned her. And when they were doing construction, they uncovered this headstone, and then the activity just boomed in this place. I learned a lot of things from this place, which is why I'm bringing it up.
No, tell me. That's why I want to hear this stuff. So you chose this place after you heard the story, and that's why you went there.
Well, I heard the place was haunted. I didn't know any of this. We learned all this when we got there. My first conversation I had was actually with this little girl. And she, very soft spoken, sounded like a 10, 11-year-old girl, talking about how she loves her dad, but her dad doesn't like her, how she never gets to go outside, all these. Hey, what is wrong with you?
I was right.
Hold on.
It's all right.
I don't know.
The goddamn cat was f***ing up the interview.
Oh, man. She gets like this sometimes. Special needs cat. Yeah. You're lucky I rescued you. Anyway. So I'm having this conversation with her. She's talking about how her father, doesn't let her outside, how she loves her father so much. Her mother barely talks to her. I just remember how broken up it sounded. We also caught a video on a camera recorder of an entity. You saw it had a top hat, a face, and then it zoomed right by us. Then came the greatest lesson of all with the paranormal, and why I am 90% skeptic. The people who own this place were also messing with us. They were the entire time flipping off the light switches. They had a 3-way light switch so they could control lights from the top, the first floor to the basement. I have a little knowledge of electrical, so I was able to tell by the wiring, just by looking at it, rudimentary BX wiring. I'm like, wait a minute, that's a 3-way. They were throwing stuff at us in the basement. They would never let us in the basement altogether. There was 2 sides to this basement and 2 stairways that went down. And I wanted to split the team up and go 1 half here, 1 half there. They wouldn't let us do it. They kept us all on one side, and every time we were there, they were messing with us. Even in places that are extremely haunted, you still can't trust the human element. And there are many things that other people would consider evidence that I dismiss.
That's the first time you start having a conversation with a spirit.
Yes.
Is this little girl.
Is this little girl.
And does this start to happen to you more frequently, or did you have to create?
No, after Smalley's, life took place, and then it wasn't until COVID that I lost my job, like so many other people.
Right.
And I said, and the place where I lived is extremely haunted, and I knew this. And I ended up having to take the super's job of this building.
And you found a lot of activity in your own basement. Is that correct?
Yes, an insane amount. Everything from audio to visual happens in that place.
I want to know this. What is it about you that makes you think you have this connection to the spirits unlike anyone else?
I firmly believe that it has to do with my magnetic field.
Come on, bro.
We all have a magnetic field. That's science. That this isn't hocus pocus. So I think that some of us, for whatever reason, have a magnetic field that's a little different, where it attracts spirits. I don't think it's a gift from God or some other being or aliens. I think it's a human-based attribute.
So something about you.
Yeah.
You're giving off some energy, like when you're using all this stuff, because anybody can buy this stuff.
Yeah.
That's what makes it like why you have these connections and why you can have these conversations. Well, that's bananas. I mean, it's crazy because I've seen it. I've seen you do it. I've seen all these videos. When did you start going out in the field with this stuff?
This basement, unfortunately, is very toxic. It was toxic to me. It was toxic to my followers. People were being affected. People were being affected by the place.
What do you mean affected?
Like some would have physical issues, while other people would just become completely nasty and disgusting. We're talking about like people that have been watching me for months that were completely fine. And then all of a sudden you start to hear from like their family members, hey, there's been a real mental decline in this person since they started watching you. We're not going to have them watch you anymore. We're intervening, which isn't good if you're running a social media platform. Yeah. You need that. And it was literally destroying my community that I was building. as I'm documenting.
You're saying...
It wasn't good for me either.
So I'm clear. You're saying that whatever conversations you were having in your basement, whatever spirits were manifesting themselves there, were getting toxic to you and to your watchers?
So it wasn't the fact that I was having the conversations, was the constant hours these people were putting into this that were actually mentally and physically affecting them. I had to make a change, but I still wanted to document. So I thought to myself, where else would spirits speak to me? And in large abundance. Well,
right.
Let's try a cemetery.
Right.
And I went to a cemetery, and something that no one, even in the paranormal field, ever thought, like, hey, there's not spirits at a cemetery. It's just stone, marble, granite, and dirt. Well, no, there's something about a quantum connection to a final resting place or a memorial that will tether some memories at location. And thus was born the cemetery walks.
And that's obviously become a large part of your TikTok streams at Santa Paranormal.
Yep.
Johnny, do you have repeat spirits? I mean, like the same spirit that comes back that wants to talk to you?
Yes. There's no guarantee they're going to come through, but I've had repeat conversations with the same spirit over and over.
What is your explanation? Look, most people think spirits, they're floating around and they have unfinished business. What's your theory on all this?
So the whole unfinished business, 3 a.m., I like to call that the romantic paranormal nonsense. It's actually all that is all reasons why no one takes this field seriously. I believe there's a scientific reason for it. As you know, energy can't be created nor destroyed. It can only be transferred. That's science, basic science. We know that. We've been learning that since we were children.
Johnny is no scholar. His highest level of education is a GED, but he's not wrong. The law of conservation of energy, a foundational principle followed by none other than Albert Einstein, states energy can't be created or destroyed, only transformed. And full disclosure, while I graduated third in my high school class and have a bachelor's degree, I had to Google this after the interview because I didn't know what it was.
Think of it like this. You know how some people, when they get blood transfusions constantly, or they receive an organ from a donor, they begin to get attributes from the organ donor, memories, feelings, new food cravings, new hobbies, interest in music. There's even been reports going as extreme as being able to play an instrument that their donor was able to play. It's the same concept. It's those memories. It's what makes us us. Not only can they be transferred per human, but when we die, they don't disappear. They connect with matter. At least I personally believe. This is all theoretical, but I believe that's what explains it. So when I'm speaking to a spirit, it's the spirit's memory. It's the actual memories of the spirit.
Johnny's theory that ghosts are dispersed electric brain synapses might sound a bit out there, but who am I to say he's wrong? Who the hell knows, right?
3 days ago, I had another 2 viral videos that just popped off. And one of the videos, I'm cleaning a grave, and I'm showing my audience that my drill brush, isn't going to hurt the grave. It won't even hurt my hand. And a child goes, "Are you okay?" as I'm drilling into my hand with the brush.
Johnny has an app that utilizes the magnetometer, whatever it's called, I don't know, in his phone, which picks up changes in the magnetic field and turns those fluctuations into what he says are ghostly voices. Look, I know, it sounds made up, but people are hooked. Here, listen for yourself.
The palm of my hand.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay, child. I'm sorry. I was just showing people something. I was okay.
I want to see if we can talk to some spirits and get some voices.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab. What's it called?
Grab whatever you need. Hey, while you're setting that up, what has been your biggest, most successful viral video thus far?
My biggest one is the one of Mary cleaning a 5-year-old little girl's grave. It has over 20 million views now.
Cleaning my grave.
That's it.
Down, son.
That's it. We're cleaning your grave. That's it, little Mary.
What is your name?
My name is John, Mary. Seems like you're having trouble retaining that information. That's okay, baby. I won't forget you.
Wow. Hey, now we're starting. I'm hearing a couple sounds in the background.
Yes, yeah, they definitely come through in my office. If we're doing this like I'm doing it live, I wouldn't even engage the spirits. I would literally talk to you. We'll just keep talking. And then when I start to hear something that makes me go, oh, wait, something's paying attention to us, then we engage the spirit. So
I'm curious if they can hear me and if they want a space, because normally your audience doesn't get to talk to them.
yeah.
And I
They can
wanna-
hear you.
You're what?
You're what?
Plants.
That sounded like hear what?
Yeah. Yeah.
That freaked me out a little.
They can hear you. So I've been listening. You hear
Yeah.
that spirit just said, I've been listening. Hold on, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Hey, spirits, can you hear Gary right now?
Generate.
Can you confirm that you can hear Gary through the screen? See a lot of what's coming through right now? I can. Okay, so I just heard through the screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I did hear, but a lot of everything else was inaudible to me. So I
Yeah.
ignored it. I just said, a child just said, let him out. I can't. He's not trapped in the phone. Probably a child that has no idea what this is. Sir? Yeah, there's definitely a child here, too.
Have you ever heard anything that truly freaked you out?
Not that truly freaked me out. I have heard things that made me raise a brow. A spirit one time, in response to me saying for it to calm down, like it was acting up, and I'm like, spirit, relax, calm down. It said, I shit you not. The first thing it said was, how about I shit on the floor? And I'm like, how you gonna shit on the floor? You're dead. And then it goes, you're right. I'll just shit in a cup then. And I went, that makes no sense. And as long as you're not spamming
Shitting in a cup.
shitting in a cup.
There could be.
What? But it was a tangible conversation. It was it wasn't like the spirit was responding to me, but wacky, So I was like, all right. So I hear things like that make me go, holy shit.
I'd love to see your mother talk to these spirits.
Did my mother ever tell you what happened?
No, tell me. His mom is my older sister, by the way.
We were down in the basement, in the
Of
fireplace
your
room,
apartment.
of my apartment. And I just heard getaway.
Uh-oh.
Spirits, remember, this is my office. I'm not going anywhere.
Maybe she's telling me to get away.
Oh, she could be, but then again, you're my uncle and my guest, so he's not going anywhere either. So we're down there, and my mother originally thought this was a big joke. Like when we came down there, she asked me like where everything was, all the sounds were coming from, recorded wise, and I said it's not. I said it's literally coming from here.
Right.
It's coming from here.
From your phone, right.
We're sitting there, and all of a sudden, and my mother, she wears a lot of her emotions on her face.
Yeah.
She turns her head and she looks, and she sees something, and she grabs me, and she turns white as a ghost. No pun intended. White as a ghost. And she starts freaking out. And I had to be like, what did I tell you before we went live? I said, if you see something, fear will feed some of these entities here. You can't get scared, or you have to go back upstairs. And she's like, no, I'm fine. I just want to draw what I saw. And then she drew what she saw. And it looked a lot like one of the spirits that always comes through down there that I've seen pictures of.
Have we ever tried to ask these spirits for lottery numbers?
So think of it like this. This is the way, and a lot of people disagree with this. This is another thing that I do differently than what everybody else out there does. Everybody views a spirit as some omniscient entity, that when you die, you get all the answers. Who says? Who came up with that? That's BS. That's not what happens. When you die, you literally die with the knowledge you died with. And that's it. you might have the ability to learn new knowledge afterwards, but it's not like an instant download where you know the secrets of the universe, let alone lotto numbers or anything. It's one of those things where, and I get it a lot. I get a lot of people that are like, oh, ask the spirit if my husband's cheating on me. And I go, nah, the spirits ain't going to know that information, but statistically, he's cheating on you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Who are the regular spirits in your office?
so in my office, there's Peter, Joe, Mary, and Sarah are the regulars. Sarah is a 9-year-old girl. We're not sure how old Peter, Mary, and Joe are there, but they all worked here.
So let's
And
see.
what's crazy?
You ever try to call them? Do they show up when you call them or no?
No, they don't. They'll just show up. And what's crazy is Joe is the most recent one. He kept saying 1910, 1914, giving us all these dates. And come to find out, one session, we're wandering the factory. I'm in the freight elevator. It's going up, and I'm looking at writings on the brick over the years. And there you see it, Joe, 1910. And I was like, oh, shit. And it's technically, he was saying Joe C, 1910, as in the name Joe, last name C, 1910. And there it was, written right there, plain as day.
How do you know it's them when they're back? How do they let you know it's the same people?
So that's actually a great question, and it can get really confusing. Like it's one of those things where even if they come through, and they'll be like, "Hey, John," and I'll be like, "Okay, that sounds like Joe." I'll be like, "Hey, Joe," and then I'll ignore Joe until he said something else. And then once I can confirm, okay, that's Joe, then I'll talk to Joe like as if he was here. But I won't. But a lot of the times, one or two things won't make me go, "Oh, they're here." I'll wait till they come in nice and strong. That's my whole idea on it.
Yeah.
They're strong enough to come through. They're going to come through multiple times, not just once. Retaliate for what? Get out. Uh-oh. We got some nasty ones.
How often are you told to get out? That's like Amityville
All the
Horror.
time. All the time. I'm told all the time to get out, and I literally say the same thing, especially here in an office that I pay, a large amount of money for. Hey, this is my office. You get the with the paranormal, especially with social media, fear sells. I turn around and I remove the element of fear when I do this. I completely remove it. When the spirit's like, get out, I'm like, oh, now,
Right.
and I get funny with it,
Right.
I don't do the fear thing and I don't sell fear. And my evidence shines a lot more because of that. Because it's not, I'm not here to scare people into giving me money. I'm here to being, hey, I'm documenting. This is what I'm doing. If you want to support what I do, thank you. I appreciate it. Now, oh my God, what's happening now?
Right. A lot of green lights, like
yeah. Which is the big issue. And think about it like this too, longevity wise. If I want to do this for the rest of my life, I can lie to my audience, or I can be true blue to the equipment and to myself and to my followers. I'm an atheist. I mean, listen, no disrespect to everybody in the world, but there's so much knowledge out there now. The fact that the whole world isn't, has that principle blows my mind.
So, Johnny, where are you going with all of this? Are you just trying to make a buck, or are you trying to prove something?
So I'll actually, I can answer that with my documentation. One spirit that I have actually grown very fond of is a man named Mr. Churchwell. I go up to his grave. All I can see is his name, Churchwell. I can't even see his first name, just Churchwell, because his grave is so dirty and covered with moss and all outdoor filth. All right. I start talking to the spirit. Tell me about yourself, Churchwell. Oh, I was in the Army. Oh, cool. Thank you for your service, Mr. Churchwell. What'd you do in the Army? Oh, it was 3 days of hell. 3 days of hell. And I'm like, wow. I was like, were you in a war? What war were you in? He was like, fire and blood everywhere. That's what the spirit says to me. So 3 days of hell, fire and blood everywhere. Then I finally asked him, did you die in this war? And he said, no, I died 2 days later due to his injuries. He flat out says this to us. But he also gets into other details about how heavy his equipment was and how tired and hungry he was and how he was having breathing problems from all the smoke. Like all these details he's given us. So I still know nothing about him. This is just what he's saying. A year later, I decide to clean his grave. All of a sudden, I see his name, Joseph. So now I know, okay, your first name is Joseph. All this little writing appears that you couldn't see before because it was covered with filth. And it says, succumbed to his injuries in the battle of the wilderness, 19 years old. So I look up the battle of the wilderness. It was described as blood and fire. Blood, fire, and smoke. Everything that Mr. Churchwell talked about, the 3 days of hell, the battle lasted for 3 days. Everything that he spoke about, the first encounter I had with him was true blue. This spirit remained coming to me every time I went to his grave. Hey, Mr. Churchwell, how you doing? He would either say, hello, John. Hi, John. Or he would say hello to the chat. He'd be like, hello, chat. Hi, everybody. And people would be like, oh, my God, Mr. Churchwell. And up until recently, he would come through. And then all of a sudden, he stopped. I haven't heard from him in 3 months. And every time I go to his grave, nothing comes through. So where I would like to take my next steps with my documentation is starting to test my theories out. I believe that it is memory that we're speaking to. And if that's the case, then I should be able to speak to a version of Mr. Churchwell at his family home. I should be able to speak to a version of Mr. Churchwell at that battlefield.
Oh, that's interesting. And that was the moment. What started as an investigation into Johnny's success as a TikTok influencer stopped right there. And following Johnny on his quest to prove his theory on fractured memories began. This was the series idea.
The energy of Mr. Churchwell, the memories of Churchwell that's at that battlefield should not know who I am. He shouldn't. He never met me. He met me after the fact, after he died. That energy, that Churchwell shouldn't know me unless somehow it connects quantumly. But I can't prove that right now.
Quantumly? You know what? I'm just going to let it go.
I need to steal this thought bubble a minute from my uncle, because I can tell by his eyes he is seriously confused. I believe that the spiritual world or spiritual realms are on a quantum level, which means they are relative to the size of the energy they are putting out. In this case, because I feel we are dealing with memories, it is very, very small. And by the way, my uncle's thought bubble is huge.
And you haven't done that with any of the spirits you've spoken to?
Actually, I kind of have. I came across, remember that spirit Edward I was talking about? I went to his grave and a child came through claiming to be Edward. The spirit that I've cursed out and has cursed me out for years now as a child, and it didn't know me. Hi, John. Nice to meet you, John. My mama called me Ed, being like a child, saying, oh, I want to be friends with you. Can I be your best friend? All these things it was saying to me. And I'm like, wait a minute. This isn't the Edward that I've spoken to.
Right.
So I'm actually in the middle of documenting him. And that's what I do. I go a bunch of times, compile the data, and then I make a decision on everything that I caught. Okay, shit, this is the child version of Edward. If it ends up being Edward and the child version of him, that proves the whole memory theory when it comes to spirits. And honestly, I know even if I prove this and I have tons of data on it and logically even get people of like the scientific community to go, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. the world isn't ready for it. People still think Sky Daddy is looking down at them and praying to their angels.
You know, I like it, man. You have a really clear perspective, you make it interesting, and you have a definite passion for all this. It's fun.
Yes.
For anybody listening, you just have to go to Santa Paranormal on TikTok and watch for yourself. You're either going to believe it or not. And while I don't believe in ghosts yet, I do believe in my nephew's passion, expertise, and drive. Together, we'll talk to the dead in haunted houses, graveyards, and anywhere else these splintered spirits of the past might be hiding. We might find a piece of a ghost at their childhood home, and another version of that same ghost haunting their favorite dive bar. I mean, that is to say, he will. I'm gonna stay a safe distance away from all of that creepy shit. Thanks for listening, and in the next episode, the conversations continue.